Thomas Jefferson initially really espoused a more decentralized approach to governance. He wasn't necessarily in favor of strong executive power. But once he got into office, first as Secretary of State and then as president himself, he was very willing to be encouraging of executive power, which a lot of people forget. As Secretary of State, he was really, really encouraging of Washington's executive authority and quite defensive of it when Congress tried to intervene. And then as president, he oversaw the purchase of the Louisiana Purchase, which was an enormous increase in executive authority. So I would say that he had a very rational approach to governing, although I think where they differ perhaps is who they thought governing or what they thought governing should be focused on. And so, of course, Jefferson did not want the government to be focusing on trade and infrastructure and industry, whereas Adams, who also believed in the importance of executive authority, did support those things. Adams was in particular very focused on the Navy. He, as a good New Englander, was very familiar with the importance of what's called the merchant marine, basically the merchant ships that carried US goods back and forth to Europe and to the Caribbean. Most of the trees that built ships came from New England. Most of the sailors that worked on ships came from New England. So he had a really good sense of the importance of trade. And he wanted a navy both to protect that trade, but also to boost any sort of diplomatic efforts because he knew negotiating would be best when, coming from a position of strength.
So, given what you just said, were those some of the issues that were discussed or debated during the election of 1800?
To a certain extent, yes, there was definitely a question of how strong the federal government would be and what it would be doing. So Jefferson argued, well, I should say Jefferson's supporters argued that the federal government was trying to impede a citizen's rights. So the First Amendment rights to free speech, was trying to assert a heavy taxation burden, was trying to expand a standing army to march across the states and interfere with citizens' daily lives. The Adams administration argued that the Democratic Republicans and Jefferson wanted to bring anarchy. They wanted to bring violence and rebellion that had first been seen in Paris during the French Revolution and then in Haiti during the Haitian Revolution. And because of the Democratic Republicans' associations with those ideas and a lot of the people that had lived in those places, the Federalists argued that Jefferson wanted to bring those things, to import them to the United States. They also, got a little bit extreme with some of their arguments. So, for example, Jefferson said that, Adams was going to create a monarchy and he wanted to install his son, John Quincy Adams, as his heir. And, one of I think the funniest arguments in the election was that Jefferson's supporters alleged that John Adams had sent Charles Cotesworth Pinckney to London to bring back 4 British women as mistresses for Adams and Pinckney. And Adams retorted, well, if he did so, I have not received my 2, which I think demonstrates his sense of humor. On the other side, Federalists alleged that Jefferson was an atheist and he wanted to destroy religion. This was part of this anarchy and violence concept. And so they told their supporters that if Jefferson won, they would need to bury all of their Bibles to protect them because Jefferson was going to come seize them.